Blake Leibel was born in 1981 with a silver spoon up his ass. We like to hope that we all have the potential to become anyone or achieve anything in life. But here's where most of us differ from the subject of this video. Blake Leibel was born into wealth, and what he couldn't achieve or earn, he could most likely buy his way into. His father was Lauren Leibel, a very prominent Toronto real estate mogul and former Olympian in the 1976 Summer Olympics, and his mother was Eleanor Chattel Leibel, the heiress of a large rubber and plastic company known as Allrose Products, which does business as Polytarp Products. Her father, Paul Chattel, also held several patents in his lifetime. Though the majority of the family's fortune came from Blake Leibel's other grandfather, Stanley Leibel. He sailed in the 1968 Summer Olympics and then went on to develop thousands of homes in the Toronto area with his sons Lauren and Corey. Blake Leibel also had a brother named Cody, who is heavily involved in the high-stakes poker world. He was marked by card sharks in California due to his wealth and gambling inexperience, and it's been reported that hustlers once took him for $1 million in a single game. Cody was part of a now famous underground poker circuit called Molly's Game, the story of which was adapted into a movie in 2017. Blake Leibel voiced his concerns to friends many times, worrying that Cody had a debt with the mob and fearing for the safety of himself, his family, and his kids. Blake Leibel, however, would turn out to be his own biggest threat. Growing up, Blake became accustomed to getting his way in what he wanted. After his parents separated, he lived with his mother while his older brother Cody was raised by his father. Leibel moved to California in 2004 and lived off an allowance of $18,000 per month over the course of 7 years. In total, he used around $1.8 million of his family's fortune during that time period, according to legal documents filed after his mother's death. His source of income would change from an allowance to an inheritance in 2011 when his mother died and he decided to sue his father for his mother's $12 million estate. He would eventually be awarded around $6 million. In 2008, Blake Leibel worked as a director and a creative consultant on an animated spin-off based on the 1987 Mel Brooks movie Spaceballs. He also wrote and directed his own comedy called Bald that same year.
I'm 20 years old, and I'm losing all of my hair.
Come in.
I can't live like this anymore.
What do you need money for?
So that I can get a hair transplant.
You would let a doctor cut open your head?
Not just any doctor.
I want the guy who did Matthew McConaughey.
Giving a bald man a second chance.
Bald on 3.
And now for the question I'm afraid to ask. Will you ever have anal sex with me?
What?
By 2010, he created his most successful project, a graphic novel called Syndrome, in which a neuropathologist tries to cure a serial killer after isolating the root of all evil in the human brain. It features gore and grotesque imagery that would turn out to be startlingly similar to the murder committed by Leibel 6 years later, including a woman who is hung upside down to be drained of blood and a baby on the front cover who is partially scalped. A Hollywood producer who knew Leibel would later say, "It wasn't entirely authentic. It was a clever idea, but what was unusual was that he paid other people to write, draw, and design the book," the producer told the Toronto Sun. "That's never done." The producer went on to say that he didn't see the violence coming, but despite this, he always thought Blake was a weirdo. He wanted to be cool and edgy, and he wasn't. But you could just tell he wasn't right in the head.
Welcome to the 2008 Comic-Con. We are here. I am Emily Lazar. This is Phoenix.
Hi, everyone.
And we are here with United Free Worlds. You are a comic book company.
Yes.
That has an amazing book out right now, and it's actually a little bit, you say that it's a little bit different from everybody else out here, and why is that?
Our work is slightly different because we take more time in making the artwork a higher quality. We take a very extreme detail. It's very serious to us. And I guess that's what sets us above everyone else, is that we like to take the time to really put in the extra effort. Because this isn't school. There's no reason to rush this or do it the night before.
That's true.
So tell us a little bit about the storyline behind
The storyline is about when a new planet enters our solar system, the Earth unites and we put down our weapons. And we find a new enemy that's about 12 to 18 feet, and they ride and control dinosaurs like dogs. And when we go to war, they absolutely annihilate us the first time. To give you a small example, 50 pterodactyls connected to a big net open up and swallow in about 400 helicopters, carry them into the sky, and then cut that net like it was nothing and let that bag of helicopters fall to the ground. Now imagine for a moment being inside of that bag of helicopters. What would that look like? How would you feel?
A bag of helicopters carried by pterodactyls? I've seen a lot of articles mentioning how Blake smoked huge amounts of weed and that his habit was pretty expensive. But I mean, Christ, I read a lot of comics and fantasy, but this sounds like dog shit. While in California, he married in July 2015 and had a son. He then abruptly left his wife, Amanda Braun, without explanation when she was 8.5 months pregnant with her second child. She eventually found out he was seeing someone only when she saw him with Iana Kasian while they were out on the town. By this time, Amanda Braun had given birth to Leibel's second child, and Iana Kasian was already pregnant. Iana was a former tax lawyer from Kiev, Ukraine, and had moved to Hollywood to pursue her fledgling career as a model. Iana's mother, Olga, had traveled to the United States to help her daughter with the new baby. Little did Iana know, but Leibel also had a mistress on the side named Constance, who accused him of rape a week before Iana's murder. He was arrested, and it was Iana Kasian who came to his rescue to bail him out for $100,000. It's thought that this probably caused a lot of tension at home between Leibel and Kasian, since she had only just found out about the affair when she had to bail him out. Iana, fearing something was very wrong and feeling like she was losing Blake, asked her mother Olga to take care of their newborn infant for a few days, while she tried to work on things with Leibel. A possible motive on Leibel's part was said to be the jealousy and the lack of attention he was getting from Iana, now that there's a newborn baby to take care of. Casey was still recovering from a C-section, and Leibel threatened to leave her if she didn't have sex with him whenever he asked. He also constantly said that he wanted to leave her for other women. Iana was trying to save the relationship, but Kasian's mother could clearly see how controlling Leibel had become, especially in the weeks after the baby's birth. On May 24, 2016, Olga Kasian went on the hunt for her daughter, after not having heard from her in 2 days. Dozens of texts, calls, and emails had went unanswered, and Olga knew something must be wrong. She had last seen her daughter a few days earlier, when Iana had gone shopping for baby strollers. Olga managed to get the police interested, and 2 LAPD officers went to perform a welfare check on Iana at the apartment she had been sharing with Leibel on Holloway Drive in West Hollywood. They were unable to enter, but would be back 2 days later. In the time that elapsed, Kasian's mother had been to the apartment by herself and stood across the street screaming for Leibel to open the door. She testified that she saw him come to the window, only to close it and disappear inside. Olga persisted, knowing that Iana had just given birth to a daughter 3 weeks earlier, and on May 26, 2016, the police returned to the apartment, this time to break in. Leibel had barricaded the door, and upon entering, police discovered Iana's body drained of all its blood and covered in a red Mickey Mouse blanket. When cops questioned Leibel, he claimed he wasn't even aware that she was dead, and denied having anything to do with the murder. In my almost 30 years, I've never been involved in a more heinous crime than this, said Sergeant William Cotter of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. To explain her injuries, I'll read directly from the transcripts of the Los Angeles County Coroner Dr. James Ribe's deposition. Kasian's entire scalp was traumatically absent and was not found, was not present with the body. Her skull had been stripped down to the surface of the bone. There was no scalp present except for little bits in the back of the neck, portions of the right side of her face were torn away, including the right ear and part of the posterior face on the right side, all the way down to the jawline. There were quite a number of bruises and abrasions on the face, primarily on the left side, the left cheek, the left jaw area, a number of bruises and abrasions, including one which turned out to be a human bite mark. She had lived for at least 8 hours approximately after receiving the scalp injury and the bruise to the collarbone. I have never seen this before, and I doubt if hardly any forensic pathologists in this country or abroad have even seen this outside of perhaps wartime, so it's extremely rare. Dr. James Ribe, Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. Blake Leibel was 35 and Iana Kasian was 30 years old at the time of the murder. In September of 2017, Kasian's autopsy report listed her causes of death as exsanguination and head trauma. Exsanguination is defined as the action of draining a person, animal, or organ of blood. This is most likely the method that would be used to achieve such a heinous end, illustrated here in Leibel's graphic novel, Syndrome. This book would become a near-perfect blueprint for the crimes he'd commit against Iana, the mother of his own child. The cover depicts a partially scalped baby, and the overall theme of the book deals with the mind of murderers, what makes people kill, and at one point even declares that evil is a syndrome. Leibel's trial revealed the mountain of evidence against him. His and Iana's DNA was found everywhere, but the smoking gun was the finding of a bloody handprint which had a missing digit on the pinky, an exact match to Leibel's hand. This little piggy had went to the market. Prosecutors provided text messages during the trial showing how Leibel had ordered food from Postmate during the days he spent alone in the apartment with the body of his dead fiancée. He had asked the delivery man to leave the food outside the door instead of knocking, as if he didn't want to be interrupted. Inside the basement, police had found 11 discarded trash bags, many of which contained bloody sheets and clothes, as well as body parts belonging to Kasian, which included huge chunks of her hair and scalp. Officials stated that they found Kasian's right ear in a dumpster outside of the residence. He threw away pieces of his fiancée like she was trash, said Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman. Holy shit! This little piggy had roast beef, and by the looks of it, no one else got a bowl. In June 2018, a Los Angeles jury of 8 men and 4 women convicted Blake Leibel of first-degree murder with supplemental charges of torture and mayhem. Superior Court Judge Mark E. Wyndham cited the savagery of the murder at his sentencing and added that Leibel exhibited inconceivable cruelty in his actions. Leibel was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without any possibility of parole. He is currently serving his sentence at the California Correctional Institution. Iana and Blake's daughter, Diana, or Deanna, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, or how they would pronounce it, is being lovingly raised by her grandmother, Olga.